want to hurt his feelings
He
by.
doesn't have a soul.
I don't want to hurt Josh's feelings by trying to come up with something on the spot. So.
These things, genders are just the greatest people in the world.
Well, you were 6'5" by 11 years old. Boom, roasted.
Is that what you think about Gabby?
Huh? What?
I read some guy in
The Office.
Oh my gosh.
Hey, everybody, open up to Ephesians chapter number 5. Ephesians chapter number 5. Ben, you're twinning with Faith Miller this morning. Boom, roasted.
They texted me.
You know what? My stomach is feeling better. Thanks, Eli, for your words of wisdom.
Just chew gum.
So, Ephesians chapter 5. I didn't put the definition there on the top of the paper that we're handing out, but does anybody off the top of their head know the definition of the word prudence?
Being careful with how you spend your time.
That is an application of what someone prudent would do, but
Being wise.
that is part of the definition. There's something specific about the word prudence that I think makes it especially applicable to us as men. And I guess just before I start, and I had some of the stuff that I wanted to talk about this morning was touched on this weekend, and I have no intentions of being all loud and preachy this morning. I really want to spend some time thinking through some of these things and giving you some time to think about them. But I wanted to just start off, and I'll get to the definition in a second. I wanted to start off by just making sure everybody's on the same page. And I just want you to realize something, and that's that you are, at some point, no matter how far away you think it is. I think Damien's probably the youngest one in the room right now. What are you, 13? Whether you're 13 or you're John and you're 18 or 19. Well, how old are you, 19? So 6 years different. Damien's got 6 years, John's got 6 years on Damien here, but no matter how long till you get there, at some point you are going to become a man. And whether that's just that you become the age of a man or it's that you actually become a man, that day is coming. And so I think it's foolish for us to continue to have this mindset of that's something that's down the road, that's something that's down the road, that's something I can think about later. I'll work on this stuff later. At some point, you are going to have a job. At some point, hopefully, you'll have a wife, kids. At some point, you are going to become a man. And the more you start to equip yourself now, the better off you'll be. Because if you don't start working on some of the stuff we're going to be going through in these split sessions now, you're going to have to work on it at some point. So you might as well get it out of the way while the stakes are really low. I know, unfortunately, there's one specific person that I have in mind, but I work with a 40-year-old man who has the character and the thought process and the mind of a 16-year-old. They exist. Just because you're going to hit a number of an age does not mean that you're going to grow up here. It doesn't mean you're going to grow in your heart. It doesn't mean you're going to grow in your character. And there is no light switch that you can flip when you turn 18 or when you turn 21 or when you move out. It just doesn't happen. This is something you're going to work on over time. So all that being said, we're going to talk about prudence today. And Aiden, you were kind of somewhat on with your definition here, but there's a couple different parts of this definition, and I think one is most applicable. Prudent is defined as cautious, circumspect, practically wise, and this is the part that I want to focus on, careful of the consequences of measures or actions. So circumspect is a Bible word, and if you break down that word, just so you never forget it again, I want to break down the word. I don't want to just tell you what it means. Circumspect, circumference, round, spectacles, right? Circumspectly, you are looking at things from every angle. You are observing it in multiple ways. And so you're having a very well-rounded view of the situation. And a prudent man is a man who has a very circumspect view of the situation and is careful of the consequences that will come as a result of his actions. I think it is biologically normal for women to be more wired to be focused on the here and now. I think, if anything, that's complementary in any given household, that the woman is more focused on the here and now, day-to-day tasks. But that leaves the responsibility of men to have some foresight and to have some, I guess, planning and some prudence to see the future and see the future needs and see the future consequences of the actions that we're making now. And it is a responsibility that we must embrace as men. And so I gave you that piece of paper. So be filling that out. We're going to fill something out in just a second. I thought it was now, but it's actually after my first round of points here. So prudence, thinking ahead, being careful of the consequences of your actions. Prudent men establish their priorities proactively. Godly priorities are not something that will happen by accident. Everyone in here, at this point in your life, you have a priority list. Everyone in here, you have things that are important to you. You have things that you care about. You have things that you enjoy doing. You have ways that you enjoy spending your time. You have things that you feel are necessary. Today is Mother's Day. I hope that it was even relatively a priority for everyone in here to do something for your mom, or at least to send her a text or something, and I love you. But we all have things that we prioritize on a day-to-day basis, or things that we care about doing. And those priorities that we've all established mostly accidentally over time, or maybe if you have good parents, your parents have instilled those into you over time, but those priorities don't become godly by accident. And I think that's important for us to realize, because if we don't realize that they're not going to happen on accident, which will then cause us to take some time to create godly priorities, then we're never going to do that. And that's what most men do. Most men, their priorities are put on them throughout their life, throughout their teenage years, throughout their adult years. Other people are telling them what to prioritize, and they don't become godly priorities. Godly priorities do not happen on accident. It's going to have to be something that you're intentional about. And with that, prudence is proactive, not reactive. So when I say proactive, I mean pro as the prefix, active, meaning that you are active before something happens, versus reactive, acting on something after it happens, responsive, if you will. This is where a lot of men mess up. A lot of men spend their entire life being told you're supposed to be somewhat of a leader, you're supposed to be somewhat responsible. Hey, guess what? Eventually, you're supposed to be fully the leader of your house. You're supposed to be fully responsible for the house. You're supposed to have the full authority of everything that's going on. And men are told this over and over again, but they never took time to establish godly priorities. So they spend their whole life chasing after trying to fix problems that come up. Trying to fix problems that come up in their life, at work, at home. Maybe they're the guy that as soon as their wife tells them something's wrong, they're just trying to fix every little thing. That's going to create a terrible marriage. Prudence is proactive, not reactive. You need to have your priorities set straight before crisis comes up. You need to have your priorities in order before there are situations that you need to respond to. Because if you don't, you're just going to be at the mercy of whatever your future wife or whatever your boss wants you to do. And you're going to let them boss you around, basically. You need to have your priorities in place so that you can lead as a godly man. Go to Proverbs chapter 22. Oh, I didn't even read Ephesians chapter 5. Oops. Before we move on, let's read Ephesians chapter 5. Ephesians chapter 5, verse 15 says, "Seeing then that ye walk circumspectly, not as fools, but as wise, redeeming the time, because the days are evil." So we're going to talk about the stewardship or redeeming our time here in a second, but I wanted to read that before we moved on. Go to Proverbs chapter 22. Proverbs chapter 22 and verse 3 says, "A prudent man foreseeth the evil and hideth himself, but the simple pass on and are punished." It's a perfect example of what we were talking about. Most men are going to fall in the simple category. They're going to pass on from whatever the situation is. They're going to react to it however, willy-nilly, and they're going to be punished for it. Their life's going to be worse off for it. Whereas the prudent man sees the evil ahead, sees the circumstance, the consequences of the actions that he's about to take, and he's thoughtful about his approach, and he hides himself. So in this example, if there's something evil, that prudent man is hiding himself instead of, being a part of that evil situation. But what you prioritize becomes your life. What you prioritize becomes your life. I think it is easy for us to think that, let me restart. You guys are in a place in your life where you're in school. Maybe you have a job. You're still living at home. And right now, there are a lot of priorities that are put on you by other people. You are naturally put into a system right now that as long as you are, willing to put some effort into that system, you are going to succeed. If you follow what they tell you to do at school, by and large, you're going to succeed and do well at school. If you do what your parents tell you to do, by and large, you're going to do well, have a good relationship with your parents, and hopefully it gets you some character along the way. You're under other people's authority. You're under their systems, and that is allowing you, not that it's wrong, those things are good as you're a kid, but those things are allowing you to not need as much prudence while you are a kid. And as you become a man, your priorities, what you prioritize ahead of time, will become the way that you live your life. And so that's why we need to establish them before we're in a reactive situation. We need to establish them now. And the last thing here is you need some margin to think clearly about this. And I use this term margin because I think it's a really good illustration of just giving yourself some space and some time and some rest. When you're thinking about a piece of paper, there are margins on that piece of paper so that the ink does not run over the side. It doesn't print off the page. It gives it a buffer to stay within. When I'm thinking about setting my calendar at work or for, just for home, whatever it might be, you leave margin to maybe drive from one place to another. You leave margin in there to maybe think through the situation you were just in or the event you were just at or to rest from it. And margin, I think, is a good word because it's not just rest. I think a lot of people try to have rest by just getting super tired and then, okay, now it's time to rest. No, you have to start to create rest. You have to start to create margin. You have to start to intentionally set aside time where you're going to think through things like this. A prudent man creates margin in his life to think through the situations ahead of him and to think through how he's reacted to situations that are behind him. And so if you flip your paper around, it's really the main reason I want to do the handouts. If you flip your papers around, before we move on, I want to give you guys a minute or two to write down a list of things that you prioritize in order. So, spoiler alert, number 1 should be what, John? God. The number 1 relationship, the number 1 priority in your life should be God, right? So just take a minute and write down, what am I currently prioritizing? What's most important in my life? What relationships are most important? What things that I do are most important? you guys another 30 seconds or so. Just thinking of 3 to 5 things that we prioritize that are most important to us. Trying to give you some margin here. All right. Now I want to change it up a little bit. You wrote down your priority list. You wrote down what should be most important to you in your life. Now I want to bring up a thought here, and it's that prudent men use their time wisely. And that time management is actually priority management. And so I want you to look at the list that you just wrote down, which to most people, I'm going to assume that you wrote down your, quote, ideal priorities. What would or should be most important to you? And I want you to look at your list and say, am I giving my time and attention to things in my life in the order of what's on this list? Can you look at your list which says, hey, my relationship with God should be my number one priority, and say, I'm giving a adequate amount of time and attention to that thing that I say is my number one priority. My second priority on my list, personally, at the stage of life I'm at, would be my wife and my children, my family. And then I would need to look at that. Whatever your number 2 thing is, can you look at that and say, I am giving adequate time, attention, effort to that thing that I say is number 2 in my life? Because we end up putting our time in the things that we really actually prioritize. To say my relationship with God should be number 1 or is number 1, maybe you say it is number 1. But then you're given the bare minimum effort in your Bible reading. You're given the bare minimum effort in your prayer life. You're given the bare minimum effort in maybe I'll just come to church on Sunday mornings. Maybe I'll just come to church on Wednesday nights. Can you really say that you're making that your number 1 priority? Because a lot of times we're not. A lot of times there are things that we enjoy doing more. We might recognize that that's more beneficial for us. But here's the difference between a boy and a man. And you guys are teenagers, so you are going from being a kid to becoming a man. This 7-year period is meant to prepare you to be a man. Boys do what they want to do in the moment. Men think about the long-term consequences, and men think about what is most beneficial to them. And so when we're trying to be prudent, we don't want to just do what we want to in the moment. We want to consider what's going to be most beneficial in our life. And when we're looking at our priority list, are we actually living up to that priority list? Are we actually managing our time like that priority list dictates? Or do we just say that should be what's most important, but we don't act on it? So as we go from being a kid to becoming a man and getting out of these systems that other people have put in your life for you to succeed, you'll need to start to establish these priorities, because if you do not, you will not manage your time the way you should to have a productive life. And you might have a productive life as far as like the world's measures, but if you don't intentionally put God as a priority in your life, you certainly will not live a productive Christian life. The world will suck you right in, and you'll get caught up in that. Small daily choices are going to matter more than having big intentions. I think Josh has been trying to tell me this one for like 15 years now. So I really like to have this giant unattainable goal and then shoot for it instead of having daily reachable goals. And that is super crucial to being prudent. You can have all of the intentions in the world that you are going to become a man who is strong, or a man who, maybe you're in here, I almost asked for somebody to raise their hand. Maybe you're in here and you say, I was raised with a really angry dad and I don't want to be that man when I'm a dad. Or maybe you'd say, I want to make sure that I'm a dad or a man who has lots of character. Or maybe I want to be a man that's really strong. Or maybe I want to be a man that X, Y, and Z, whatever it might be, fill in the blank. Those are great intentions, But you have to do things day in, day out, consistently to become that man. It doesn't just happen because you want it to happen. That's the light switch example. Oh, I turn 18 and I have always wanted to be a strong man. I turn 18, now I'm an adult. Boom. I just turn the light switch on. That's not how it works. And you need to manage your time and your choices now as a 13, 14, all the way up to 19-year-old. You need to be managing your time and your priorities right now that reflect the man that you want to be 10 years from now. Because it's not going to happen overnight. Because how you spend your time is how you're going to spend your entire life. When I wrote that down, I was like, that's really honestly such an obvious statement. But I feel like we view them as different things. We might view how we're spending our time on a day-to-day basis as like non-consequential. Oh, it doesn't matter that I spent an extra 3 hours on the game today and didn't do my homework, and I'm going to get an F on that assignment, but it doesn't really matter. But you stack those days up of bad time management over time, over a long period of time, and you're going to be way off course from where you want to be. And so a prudent man establishes his priorities ahead of time, proactively, intentionally. A prudent man uses his time wisely, and his time reflects, the way he spends his time reflects his priorities in life. And then lastly, like we were talking about a little bit, men are built slowly, or they're destroyed slowly. Like I said, you can have all the intentions in the world to go in the right direction, but that's something you're going to have to build over time, slowly. No person becomes strong overnight. When we were at the retreat, Aiden was doing lots of pull-ups on the swing set because there was a female around that he wanted to impress. And Aiden probably did more pull-ups yesterday trying to impress her than he's done in the last 2 weeks. And he can do all the pull-ups he wants for one day. It's really not going to make a big difference. But if Aiden does all them pull-ups every day after a year, it's going to make a big difference. And as men, our character, the man that we're going to become, it is built slowly. It doesn't happen overnight just because you want it to. It is a matter of having the right priorities and putting the time in where we need to put the time in to reflect now the man that we want to become. So when you're writing down those priorities on the back of that sheet, there's two facets. There's one part of you that says, well, this is what I know that it should be on this list. This is what other people would tell me to put on this list. This is what the ideal thing to have on this list is. But it goes deeper than that. There's a second facet of you as a man that should have some vision and some drive for future you to say, these need to be my priorities right now so that I can become the man that I want to become. What can I prioritize now? How can I spend my time now to become the man that I'm supposed to become? The other thing is destruction usually happens gradually as well. And when I was writing that one down, I really did think about, what's the one-off time where destruction happens like all of a sudden, all at once. And I was like, you hear a lot of times where somebody has an affair and it ruins their marriage and then their kids hate them and all that stuff, right? And it's like, whoa, everything blew up all at once. It's like, no, even that probably built over time. That destruction built over time. That lust built over time. I would struggle to find a one-off example where a man is destroyed all of a sudden. Oh, he just got caught up with the wrong crowd. No, he was running for that crowd for a while and got deeper and deeper and more involved over time until this event happened. Destruction happens gradually as well. This point made me think of a guy that I used to go to youth group with, and I remember when he got his first job and started working, and I wouldn't see him at youth group as much. Doesn't seem like too terribly of a big deal. Doesn't seem like too terrible of a deal, right? Maybe he misses a Wednesday night here and there. Maybe he misses a Sunday night here and there. Oh, he's still usually here for Sunday mornings. But gradually, over time, I didn't see him for like 10 years. Over time, it got worse and worse. Over time, it was, oh, I'm just missing Wednesday nights. Oh, I'm just missing Sunday nights and Wednesday nights. Oh, now I'm coming to church once a month. Now I'm getting sucked into the world and because I don't have my accountability that I had at church. And it was a gradual fade or a gradual destruction that happened over time for him. And he never would have looked at the first decision to miss a Wednesday night and said, I'm going to destroy my life. It was gradual. But destruction usually happens gradually. So you have to be so careful, so prudent to do the right thing now so that that small decision multiplied over the next 10 years doesn't create some huge destruction in your life that people would say, oh, it just happened all of a sudden. No, that happens gradually. So don't let it happen to you gradually. Be prudent. And the man you'll become is being formed right now. That's the whole, if I can give you no other point than this one right here, the man that you will be 10 years from now is built off the foundation and the back of the decisions that you make day in and day out right now. It doesn't just switch. There's no point at which you've made dumb decisions for years and then all of a sudden they're just gone. All of a sudden you're starting to make the right decisions. No, the decisions you're making now are going to shape the man that you are 10 years from now, 20 years from now. So make the right decisions now. Prioritize the right things now. And then when you have that priority list, I gave you like 2 minutes to make that priority list. Go home today. It's Sunday afternoon. You don't have school. You should be able to have some time to yourself, even if it's just 30 minutes. Make an actual priority list that you've put some thought and effort and mind into. And then your time, the way that you spend your time, make sure it reflects that. Don't be don't be like every other man in this society that has all these ideals and all these wishes for what his life could be, but then doesn't live his life and have the character and discipline to make his life that way. The man you are becoming, or the man you will become, is being formed right now. So my challenge to you is do not wait another day. Be prudent right now. Earlier I talked about the fact that you are currently under your parents, you're currently at school, maybe you currently have your first job, and you have all these systems that have been given to you to thrive in so that you can be in those systems and thrive in them. Soon, whether it's John soon and it's like the next couple years, or it's Damien soon and it's probably the next 10 years, 15 years, at some point, those systems will be gone. At some point, no one else is going to be doing the work for you. And if you do not begin to build this trait of being prudent and thinking ahead and prioritizing your life correctly right now, then you will fall on your face, for lack of better words, for lack of a more elegant way to put it, you will fall on your face someday when those systems are removed from you. Because freedom, everybody wants the freedom of graduating high school. Everybody wants the freedom of moving out from under your parents' roof. Everybody wants the freedom. But freedom without prudence, freedom without discipline, very quickly becomes bondage. All that freedom, if you don't exercise it correctly, if you don't put it in the right direction, you're going to start making the wrong decisions. You're going to start getting into things you don't want to get into. Maybe, here's a really lighthearted, easy example. You're out of your parents' house, you're making some big boy money, right? You're living on your own, but you've never had some discipline to put some safeguards in your life because everybody else always did that for you. And all of a sudden you blink and you're in so much more debt than you ever thought could possibly be attributed to one person. That's a lighthearted example. Maybe, let's use the really not lighthearted example. You get all this freedom, all this space, no rules. You make your own money. You're on your own. No systems around to help you thrive in. And you don't have any discipline. all of a sudden you get sucked in with the wrong crowd. You start doing drugs. They start getting progressively worse and worse and worse. And then all of a sudden you're doing hard drugs. Two completely different sides of the spectrum, but both of those things happen to people, whether we can say it's lighthearted or not. Without discipline, without prudence, your freedom will quickly become bondage. And so, as a man, decide now that you will become prudent, that you will build this trait into your life so that future you can thrive. Future you can have the discipline that will give you true freedom in your life. So we're done. Go ahead and bow your heads, close your eyes. Got done 2 minutes early, so like I said, super early. I really would challenge you guys to take some time today, before you go back to school on Monday, before summer break begins, take some time and say to yourself, what do I want my priorities to look like? What do I want future me? What do I want 25 to 30-year-old me? What do I want him to be like? What kind of characteristics do I want him to have? And then make your priority list based off creating that future version of yourself. Have some foresight, have some prudence. Dear Lord, Heavenly Father, I thank you so much for this day. I thank you for the wisdom that you've given in your word, Lord, to redeem our time. Lord, to be good stewards of our time. Lord, to be prudent and to have some foresight. God, I pray that you would help each and every young man in this room as they're getting older and as they're becoming an adult, Lord. I pray that you would help them to have some prudence so that their life can be shaped in such a way where it honors and glorifies you. Lord, I pray that when we write down on a piece of paper that we put you number one in our life, Lord, I pray that we mean it. God, I pray for even myself, Lord, that I wouldn't just say that because it sounds good, but Lord, that it would be the true desire of my heart and truly how my actions are a reflection of it, Lord, that I honor and glorify you and live my life for you first and foremost. God, I pray that you'd be with us as we go to the next service, be with the choir as we sing, and I pray that you'd be with Pastor Wally as he preaches. It's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen. You are misdissed.
Take the discipline equals freedom example.
For real.
It's good.